Come on, Harry, bruv. We got this, brother.
Alright.
How do people start podcast? One sec. Figure out. Welcome, everybody, to the first, potentially only, episode of the Chit-Chat. My name is Cheek, or Ash, and I'm with... Introduce yourself, bro.
Yeah, no, Arian. Yeah, twin brothers.
Yep. And a bit of background, I guess. We both spent the past couple of years working in the Call of Duty esports scene. We started in challenges, ended up doing a couple of years in the league each, respectively. Both have just completed a full season under the LAG. Overall, pretty successful season on our end. But we're here to talk to you guys a little bit about EWC, the next big tournament that everyone's got their eyes on. Ari, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting tournament. Obviously, gutted that we can't be there in some capacity, but yeah, going to be a really interesting tournament nonetheless. To watch some teams play. We just finished champs, so it'd be good to see how teams adapt and see how these new teams, these challenger teams, and some of the shifts that have happened at pro level as well are going to impact some other teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be severely interesting seeing, who's put the time in. Because there's a lot of money on the line. A lot of money is on the line. And there's going to be teams coming a lot harder because they're going to want to make their cash. But also, there's a few challenger boys, and they're going to try and make their name. Couple people. Actually, to be honest with you, a lot of the people that we're going to be talking about have been in the league at some point and looking for maybe redemption, a few of them definitely are outspoken about how they deserve their chances. And this is going to be a great opportunity to prove it. I will say I don't know how much damage a challenger team will be able to do. What do you think a realistic goal is for the challengers teams?
I think, yeah, I mean, just getting out your groups is always the first step. Stealing a win is obviously going to be good as well. Just one win. I think as you look at it, as you look at the series, putting on a good performance, showing that you can compete with the best teams is the first step. If you think too far and think you make or break it, if you make it out of groups, I think there's some teams that are in really hard groups. So even getting one win will kind of prove their case. The goal for all challenger teams in this tournament is to prove that they deserve to be in the league over other names. And I think the goal for some of these pro teams is to prove that get another opportunity. Some teams didn't go to champs, so get an opportunity to make this their chance. And I think this is a really cool event as well because it's the first one, and hopefully you can only expect more of them to come. So it will change the landscape of what Call of Duty looks like, and it will change the landscape of what this tournament actually means year in year out. So to be the first winner is definitely something that teams should want to get.
I like it. I mean, I agree. I think getting out of groups is going to be a miracle for a challenger team. I do think it's going to be really hard at the end of a season. We see pro-ams typically at the start where teams can kind of outgrind, outwork, outgap, maybe skill gap, out knowledge gap, especially. End of the season, though, it's going to be really hard for a team to do that when a pro team has so many reps. But there are pro teams that have made changes, which throws some interesting curveballs, interesting dynamics into there. Is a pro team that made a 3-man change, which we'll get onto. But this is going to be a pretty entertaining tournament. But let's get started. Let's get into it. I think I want to start with talking about some of those challenger teams. Starting off with our first segment, cheeky challenges. We have the passion pit. People love the passion pit. It's the place where you start to make your name for yourself. We've seen some top tier rookie talent come through challenges and win CDL champs within a couple of years. The names of Draza comes to mind. Someone who started in challenges, got into the league, made a name for himself. Now it's very hard to not talk about him in any capacity. He's a great player, and he lets people know about it. So hey, let's get started with our first team, the quote-unquote hosts of the tournament. They're going to have their home team advantage. Team Falcons. Ari, talk to me. What do you think about this roster?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of knows what Falcons are gonna bring, which is really good S&D. That's kind of been their thing. Even from Saudi Arabia, they have no problems playing teams in the UK. Even NHLs, I think, as well. Just playing S&D and proving that they're part of the top S&D teams in the game. The question for them is, are they going to be able to take these S&Ds at the tournament, and are they going to be able to steal the respawns to actually get a series win? I think is the biggest question. I don't want to count them out in that form, but that's kind of where I think I put them, and I think everyone else puts them. So for them, it's an opportunity to prove people wrong. There's no kind of negative going into it, right? When everyone doubts you, you have no pressure,
Yeah,
and you have no pressure on your shoulders. So you just push forward. If you take a respawn, the high that you're going to feel off of that is going to just propel you to kind of just close series out. And if you take that first map and then take that map too, like I think Falcons close it, knowing that they have a game 5. You just play those next 2 respawns with full confidence.
I like it. I mean, listen, if they take map 1, that crowd is going to go crazy, right? People talk about the home crowd at champs. This Saudi crowd might be something. I don't really know how many fans are going to get in there, but this is the first event in Saudi Arabia. Their home team gets a chance to play. And these boys, I mean, let's talk a little bit about them. I mean, I'll be honest, by face and name, not many people will know these players, but these guys have had a good project. Started in Saudi Arabia, obviously, but they transitioned a couple of years ago to Europe, where we're both from, and we saw them come into the European challenger scene. And let's be honest, they weren't the best players in the region at the time. But over the years, slowly and surely, with a few roster changes, bringing some extra players over, these guys have built a strong foundation with their head coach, Luti, grinded through a lot of challenging series and elites, cups, tournaments. And to be honest, they won Challengers Elite Season 3. They made a big name for themselves, a statement series, the last online tournament of the year they won. So this team, I'll be honest, a player that I like the look of that they recently brought in is Salad. I don't know if that's how you say his name 100%. That's how I know him. Salad 5 Alad X. Talk to me about him. I mean, he has a 1.19 KD in the Elite Season 3 that they won. His hardpoint KD is 1.2. I mean, the guy's a little bit of a freak, right? He is by far their most aggressive damage output player. He wants to get in your face. They play with a bit of a tempo to them. Talk to me, do you think they can take map 1? They have a hard matchup, which we'll get into, but do you think behind Salad they can win a map 1?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can. When you're winning European elites, you obviously can win respawns. That's not to kind of disrespect them in any way. That they definitely can't. They can. They want an EU elite. The biggest question for Salad and the team is, can they replicate that on LAN? Because notably, their performances when they go to the Challenger tournaments isn't to the level as what it is when they're playing these EU tournaments online. That's not to say that I think they're a bad LAN team or that there's anything there, but they have to be able to prove that they can do it on a LAN environment. They haven't done so yet. But with Salad, especially with the way that he played in the season 3, they have all the chance in the world if they're all guns firing. I mean, you know how Call of Duty is. It's so day to day that if you're on top of it, like you're going in. Like Salad can definitely do it. He was so aggressive in that elite. Um, and that's no disrespect to any of his teammates. I think he's just the impact player on this team, the
Yeah.
the the king of this Saudi team, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I like it. Listen, moving on, we'll move on swiftly because we don't want to spoil too much before we get into the bracket predictions.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with our I don't really know if it is yours. Talk to me a little bit about Ari, this Stallions team. Talk to me. Loads of familiar faces. A face that isn't in the league yet, but 3 faces are very familiar to the CDL, to yourself. Talk to me a little about this Stallions roster.
Yeah, I think the best team over the course of challenges. Obviously, they made finals in all of the opens, won 2 of them, and just missed out on reaching that grand final at Challenger Champs as well. So
Yeah,
this team
crucial round
is
11.
clear cut the best challengers team across the year. Although they didn't win challengers champions, they're not coming in as champions, but they're definitely coming in as the strongest team, possibly with the strongest map pool as well. I mean, respawn wise, they're really good. They're really well drilled. I mean, it's no surprise when you look at the players on their team. Um, all really super smart players, really confident players, impactful players, and you have a head coach in Mayhem too, who I've worked with and understands hardpoint control, understands S&D, but understands respawn modes so well. Yeah, it's no surprise to me that this team is been dominant since day one.
Hey, listen, you said about their map pool specifically. These guys dropped one map before the winners final, and that was to an S&D on Rio, right? These guys are super strong on all fronts. Their control, they did play high rise in every single series, and they only lost it once in the losers final. Go figure. The series they needed to win it, so then they would have closed out in 3-1 fashion. They lost the losers final, high rise the first time. But you're right, these guys. Biggest question mark for me, Ari. You said a lot of strong players on here. Brack is a superstar, especially in S&D for me. He's an island player that really, really has pop-off potential. Very hard to get him out of any position he wants to play. They lost 5 S&Ds.
Yeah.
At LAN, at Champs. These guys needed to spend the last 2 weeks just working on their S&D, making sure that they had a strong map pool, because you're right, the respawns, they're super strong. The S&D, they lost Rio, High Rise, 6-Star, and Karachi. That's 4 different maps out of the 5 map pool they lost, and they lost High Rise twice. These guys really need to make sure that they can lock down their S&D.
Yeah.
If they want to stand a chance out of what I consider the pool of death, but they have a favourable pool to get out of. With the talent on their team, they actually they fit in there quite well.
I wouldn't say it's a pool of death, but I think for sure S&D is their woes. You just mentioned that they lost 4 different maps. I think that speaks volumes on their map pool. If I was them going into this tournament, I wouldn't even focus on fixing every S&D. I mean, we've been in the same situation in the past. We've been in it last season too. And when you need to go into a major tournament, you only really need 2 or 3 good maps, right? You can just have an auto video go into this tournament if you feel confident enough, especially with the fact that you knew your group going into it a month prior. You can really fine tune your practice to working on specific maps, which is probably a little bit harder in the challenger scene than it is in the pro scene, because you don't know who you're going to play on any given day. You don't know who's going to make it through the brackets or whatnot. So you kind of need to have that broad scope. But going into a major tournament where you know who you're going to play and you know what your brackets are going to look like, you know what the vetoes are going to look like, you can really fine tune your practice and focus on the S&D. So for me, the big question mark for this team is, have they fixed their S&D enough? Because I think their respawn, they're more than capable of taking it anyway. They have superstar players on their team who drop high level of kills, high KDs. Obviously, Brack is always, I mean, I'd probably bet my life on him to always be over a 1. He's not the fastest player, but he's so engaging, so strong on that island, so strong as a statue player. And he can get moving too if he needs to, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, listen, Brack, you saw it last. I mean, I saw it firsthand last season on Florida Mutineers. There's something about Carson at the end of a game's life cycle. Not to say like at the start he isn't good. He's a CDL talent player. He's a top tier caliber player. But at the end of a game, this guy hits a different mode. And I was super surprised that they didn't win Challenger Champs. I had them as my favourites because I know how strong Carson is. And I mean, he played his part really well. He had the second best KD with a 1.23, but he was closely followed by his teammate Dylan Rex, 1.21. These guys have found a partnership, and I think it really does come down to making sure that they strike it up at the right moment, because they are playing some tough teams that play really aggressive. So if those ARs can lock down the map, they're gonna find a lot of success.
100%.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll move forward a little bit on our EU team, the only EU team to qualify, the Gentlemates.
Yeah.
How you feel about these guys, Ari? Again, you've seen at least the coaching staff firsthand. Marky B, you've worked with him. Tell me, how would Mark start to prep for this tournament? Veteran leader. How will he go into this tournament feeling?
Mark is an opportunity. He's never down. He's never a pessimist. think he's quite different to me in that sense. But the group they're in, I think that's the group of death. It's a group of death in pro level. It's also the worst group that you would have wanted as a challenger team because there are three strong teams, and the matchups are extremely hard as well from a pacing standpoint. All three teams that they're up against play completely different Call of Duty. I expect them to play completely different Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So trying to adjust to that with only a month's worth of practice is going to be extremely hard, and we'll touch on that, I think, a little bit later. But this team, I'd call them the second best team in EU over the course of the season. Obviously, the Omit team was probably number one. You even had the Falcons team who won a challenges, so top two, I guess, team. They won a few cups. Um, they've had a complete shape up around that, especially like Ben and Harry have had a massive jingle of their teammates, a complete cycle. So for me, it's probably a good opportunity for them because they've got a stable structure now. They know what they're up against. And leaning on some veteran leadership here with Bance and even Denzo, who hasn't had a chance in the league, but is a pure veteran
Yeah.
in Call of Duty. Harry's had his chances in the league, and he's proven to play well. And they have this superstar talent from EU who is undoubtedly the next up in Cobra. Who, you watch the performances of Linz this year, and all you're thinking of is, oh, if Linz is this good, how good's his duo Cobra, who's been lighting challenges on fire in the last like 2 years.
Yeah. I mean,
So yeah, I'm excited for these guys. Again, what I said about Falcons with no pressure, these guys have seriously no pressure. There is nothing but gain for this team.
just opportunity.
Um,
There's no threat. All opportunity.
yeah,
Listen, like I wanna highlight that because again, we look at that Challenger Champs run. These guys won every single map one apart from the series they lost in losers round 3 against Brooklyn. These guys won every map one. So knowing the players on their team, knowing Denza and how fired up he gets, I mean, the self-proclaimed king of Europe, the man always gets his piece of the pie in Challenger Champs or in Challengers. If they win map 1, I know you're saying this pool of death, if one team or if one of these pro teams underestimate these guys and give them a sniff, this is going to get interesting. But
yeah,
one key matchup I want to highlight, you mentioned, we'll get into it a little bit, but you mentioned about Cobra's duo. Cobra will be playing against his Awoba Bob teammates in his group. He's got Seattle versus Rokkr or G2 in his group. That's all of that Awoba Bob team in the same pool. Let's see who comes out on top, man. I think there's gonna be some heated matchups.
cool. Yeah,
I'm excited. Well, listen, let's get into our next team. Your Challenger Champs. Everyone Challenger Champs, actually. Law Gaming. I mean, these guys, they had some doubters, but all 4 players, CDL caliber, we've seen them on the main stage. All of them have performed in the CDL at some point or another. I mean, they have a 2-time world champ on their team, and this guy went and got, in his words, 2.5. He went and got a medal. He said, "Screw it, I'm gonna go win this real quick," and then hopefully back in the league next year. Talk to me a little bit about this team, Ari.
Yeah, I think this team completely different to the way that Stallions work. This team is so good at S&D. I think in finals they ended up winning 3 of the S&Ds, right, to close it out against a really strong S&D team. So for me, this team are they going to be good at respawn? And when I look at the list of players, that 2-row Yuli duo, I think is one of the most underrated duos in challenges over the last year and a half, 2 years or so that they've been playing together on and off, right?
Yep.
These two are really smart players. They're really aggressive. They're pacey, and they're really smart in the way in which they set themselves up for success. Pair that behind Alec, who if he can get to his form that everyone knows that he can hit, they just have this ultimate like facility for the honorary MVP of Challengers Championships, Paul, to perform as good as he can. Right, this guy
Yeah.
won a tournament in the Vanguard year. He won the Pro-Am. So he's no stranger for challenger teams versus pro team situations. He's no stranger to that situation and coming out as an underdog and proving people wrong. So I'm excited for this team. I think they have, if I had to put my money on anyone to kind of come out, it'd be them just because of riding the high of winning a tournament and also the confidence in their S&D.
Yeah.
Behind the fact that I think they're more than capable in taking respawns against any team that they play.
100%. I mean, you mentioned that their S&D, these guys lost one S&D, all Challenger champs, a high rise, which they won in the winners round 2, and in the grand finals they won high rise. These guys' S&D pool is insanely strong, but also their hardpoint. I mean, they only lost 2 hardpoint maps all weekend too. These guys are a well-ordered machine. Getting practice against pro teams will benefit these guys tremendously. I know Brendan as well, super methodical player. The man with the pillow, he genuinely will benefit so much from playing against pro teams, just getting his level up to that level, and getting ready to play in Saudi. I know these guys are relishing for this moment. A lot of people in this team are fighting again for their chance, and I mean, hopefully they showcase, you know, their talent, because you want to see everyone do well. Yeah, and then our final team, our final challenge team, Omit Brooklyn. These guys, you know, technically they didn't qualify in the top 4 spots, but they get a qualification based on the few roster changes that we saw happen. Again, a lot of players on this team we know, we've seen before in the league. There's an MVP from an event in the CDL in this team. How do we feel these guys are going to play?
These guys, I mean, in some form, this team that Chris was a part of, Chris Spark, they were lighting challenges on fire in peaks and valleys, I think. And I think that's the story of this team. It's peaks and valleys. So for me, it's really, are they going to peak coming into this tournament? I think you kind of know the play style that they're going to bring. They're going to be a super aggressive team. They're going to just push pace and they're going to chow, right? And I think all 4 of these guys have just been, if you read their Twitter timelines, they've just been begging for this opportunity. I don't doubt them to try and come in full force, because for me, all 4 of them have been going absolutely insane this year. A lot of them have had good moments. And I think especially for Lou, he's been severely underrated this year in challenges, and he's performing really well.
Yep.
Hamza gets his opportunity to play against the pros after many years of winning challenger tournaments. And then Chris and Byron just coming in, with Byron that more veteran leadership and Chris that more straight optimist, confident style that he has within himself. I think the MVP is always ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this team, obviously at Champs, they did not play with Byron. They played with Wiz, who I will say I feel a little bit sorry for, you know, seeing your team be able to go. But in theory, they didn't qualify. Happy for Byron. Byron getting his shot, because I'm going to be honest, if Omit won Champs, Byron was 100% the MVP. This man was flying. He was going insane. He had a point to prove. I think, you know, that with the roster move, maybe they knew beforehand. I'm not sure. But if they did, this man had a point to prove. He wanted to show his team that, hey, look what you're leaving behind. Because this guy, he had the number 2 Challengers Final KD for an SMG. He was the 6th highest rated Challengers Final Slayer. This guy was flying in every opportunity. I hope he brings everything from that Omit team that he had to this version of the Omit team, because they severely needed it. We're talking about their map pool. These guys lost every map one at Champs. They need to come out hot, because again, they have a pool that they could make some things happen, considering their pool has a couple roster changes in it where they can see some gaps and opportunities to thrive.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just tell you a short story. We had to sub in a coach during an event, and we managed to get Chris to come in for one map during that series. And he came in ready to go. I've never seen someone shoot that straight off a warm-up. No warm-up. Just come in, shoot straight. And we lost. And Chris was so confident that if we won that map, we would have won that map 5. And anytime you talk to him, you just know that his confidence is through the roof.
Yeah.
He's literally ready to go. I'm never going to doubt this kid.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I hope for their success. Again, I want to see some huge upsets. I think it's going to be hard, but I want to see some huge upsets.
Yeah.
So listen, man. On to the next segment, where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenge, or the pro level teams, the CDL teams that have made some roster changes, in a segment that I like to call AriAnalyst. Yeah? You like that?
Yeah.
So Ari, analyze some of this for me. Talk to me just a little bit from your perspective. As someone who highly prides himself, and I work with you closely, You pride yourself on your
Mm.
preparation, on your
Mm.
ability to take as much information out of the game, simplify it, give that to your players to be able to make the right decisions in game. Talk to me about how a team who's made a roster change is going to go into this tournament prepared.
So, rule number one, you ride the honeymoon period, right?
Yep.
That is the ultimate buff that you can ask for as a honeymoon period. Everyone
Okay.
tweets about it, everyone talks about it. So you get a positive change, especially because these teams who have made changes were all bottom four teams, right? So they've all come off poor seasons, not getting where they wanted to be. One change has happened, two changes happened, and even three changes happened for some teams, right? So what we get from that is a new breed, a new life, a new persona. And I think those teams that have made changes have actually done it really well. So, for example, the Carolina team who
Hold on,
imported
hold on.
Beans.
Let's not talk about their change right now because we're gonna get into it.
Well,
But
I want to give my example.
uh,
So, the
go.
example, the example is the Carolina team who's changed in for Beans.
Yeah,
Beans, as everyone knows, is a super energetic, a super loud player.
yeah,
So getting that one person to come in and you know that he's going to bring that energy through, especially after losing a Clayster who has that energy to him as well. You know that Beans is going to fill that void. You know that Beans is going to bring more to that team as well in some aspects too, right?
yeah.
So what you get from that is you made a one person change. I'm worried about the energy, but you won't be worried because you've got Beans. Those
Yeah, that
teams who
makes
made a
sense.
two-person change or a three-person change, they've got enough pieces to breathe that new fresh air in without it having to just be one player who's quite reserved or usually quite quiet.
Yeah,
So I think those teams have made good changes where they've managed to be stable, but also rock the boat where they need to.
I like it. I like it, and I like the comment. The energy point. I actually do like that because sometimes one man change isn't enough. But knowing Ben Beans, I mean, the guy shoots. He shoots straight. But more importantly, he does bring you energy, and especially when you're missing Claystar, you're gonna have to replace that in some way or another. And we've seen that Carolina team. They've been talking a lot online and having a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah.
So Ari, talk to me. Let's start off with the team that we'll start with the team that has the most players that played at Challenger Champs.
Okay.
Boston Breach. A three-man change. No unfamiliar faces. How you feel about this lineup, Ari?
Look, I'm just looking at the AR duo, and I think that duo has something to prove, right? When
Yeah.
you're talking about Cammy, you know the ceiling that this guy has. When you talk about Awakening, you know the ceiling that these guys have. These guys are MVP talent players. These guys can do just as much damage as any other player in the league and more, right? And then you partner that with Snoop, who, as everyone knows, is as talented as they come. The Boston team have kept him really close to them. He is a super talented player, and you have this Purge as well, who, for people who don't watch challenges, Purge has been playing closer to a Snoop than what you saw from Purge in the league, right? In the
He's
league,
been
Purge was
moving.
quite reserved. He was a bit more of I'll get your hill time, I'll make the smart plays, the right plays, and in challenges, he's been moving like Snoop. He's been putting on a show. But what you will get from these guys is grounded S&D,
Yep.
really good S&D with insane pop-off potential. That's what this team brings.
Yep.
So
These,
yeah, excited to watch them play.
I like it. I mean, these guys have the best map pool in control, in my opinion. They played every control map online at Challenger Champs. Not every team can say that. That just shows me they're comfortable. And being comfortable on that many maps means, like you said, they're going to come into this month of preparation or a couple weeks of preparation, really. They're going to be able to fine tune against the pro teams and figure out what they're really good at. But, maps they like to play high rise a lot. And a lot of Challenger team plays high rise, which is a lot of a square up map. But for these guys, when they have the CDL talent they do have, I don't think they're going to be scared to play anything against any team. So I'm excited. I think Control is going to be a massive, massive game mode for them. And hopefully we'll see some upsets come out of them. But hey, moving on to our next team. We're going to go to the team that made two changes, Ari. Two familiar changes for yourself and me. The Minnesota Rokkr, or G2 is what they're going by this tournament. Listen, they made a double change. Two players from LAG. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I feel super excited for Justice and Connor to get the opportunity to compete at this tournament. I think the team composition that they've built in reminds me a lot of the team composition that we had. So I think they'll slot in really well, to be honest with you. And I think what this team brings is they'll have a split of 2-2, right? So they'll just be pretty much spending the last month sharing their best ideas from each team and combining that together. And that is a really good place to be in for that team, right? As long as they stay on the same page, which I'm sure they will. They have a great coaching staff who's going to help them navigate those situations well, right? And what you have is a sub duo of Lins and Justice, which I'm really excited to watch. I think those two paired together can do some real damage on the map, really good pop off potential. I think Justice is a super smart player, but also a super aggressive player and fills that gaps that Lins will need filled. So what I expect from this G2 Rokkr team um, is a more coordinated team, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think what you found in their hardpoint, I think they were the worst hardpoint team in the league last year. It was uncoordinated. It was sometimes slow. It was sometimes fast in some cases. But for the majority of it, I think this team will pick up the pace to where it needs to be, but also be super coordinated in everything that they do. And that puts them on a good pedestal. They have great players to be able to pull that off.
I agree. I mean, listen, on my end here, seeing like the players they picked up, Connor and Justice. Um, Connor gets, people think he's a slower AR. They look at the stats, look at the numbers. Connor's pacing, I will say, depends on the team he's on. This guy can pick up the pace, and we saw it a lot. He was putting out the third sub. He loves putting out the third sub. He did it in Cold War, in the big events where he's flying with New York. This guy loves getting in your face as well. So a lot of people are worried about this dynamic between Lamar and Connor. I actually think it's going to complement each other really well because when one sits, the other can go. I think Connor will be the faster, more aggressive one. But like you said, this sub duo really excites me. I think Lins is a top tier prospect in the CDL. He showcased how good he can be, especially that stage 1 performance he had. And Justice, my rookie of the year, the guy makes so many heads up plays for the team that go unnoticed. If you're not looking at Justice's arrow on the minimap, you really will not see the impact he brings to a team. And that's coming from me, who sits there and looks at stats a lot of the time. Like, this guy makes a lot of good plays. He's very smart, and it takes you a day of watching him to realize it. So listen, I'm excited for this team. This is probably my dark horse team, but like you said, they're in that group of death. So it's going to be a tough one for them. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
On to the next team. This is that team you're talking about. Energy, energy, energy. Ben Beans bringing the energy to Carolina. Bringing some more pace to the lineup is what everyone's hoping for online. Do you think this change will pan out? Dropping a 3-time world champ is a risky move. But they didn't make champs. Like you said, all the teams that didn't make champs had to pull the trigger somewhere. And unfortunately, Clayster was the one who got replaced for Beans. How do you feel about it?
I think, obviously in isolation, right? If you just look at the year-on-year end, Beans has played really well on that Boston team. They haven't been able to get wins. They were really unfortunate when they had a bunch of 3-2 losses. But Beans has shown that he's a high impactful, high engagement player, right? And everyone knows the talent that he can bring. This team, in my opinion, should be a more well-rounded team. They should be able to push the pace, but also be able to put that red light on and stop and hold their setups a lot more cleanly than they may have struggled to in the past. I think it is a good upgrade in isolation for this year for this team, and I think Ben Beans deserves this opportunity to compete at this tournament. I think Gwyn has had a phenomenal year, obviously won the Rookie of the Year as well. So the question mark for me is, are they just going to be able to keep going? And I have no doubts that they will. I think this team has taken an upgrade, with no disrespect to Clayster. I think that this team will just push on and achieve better things as a result of making a change.
Hey, listen, I kind of just agree with that. I think this team is looking a little more scary. They had a lot of time to practice, and that would be my only concern. Did they get good quality practice? The group they're in, not a concern for me, because the next team we're going to talk about, which we'll kind of bring up now, is the Vegas Legion, who also made a change. And I think if this was the groups and Clayster was in that team, I'd be worried for the Ravens. But bringing in Beans, that extra pace is exactly what they're going to need against Vegas. But talk to me about Vegas, man. Again, another familiar face.
Yeah.
We have Kev Fame joining the team of three of Dylan Attach, Dylan Nero, and Geo. Talk to me. What do you think Kev can bring to this lineup?
I think this Vegas team had a really good season. They obviously missed out on the opportunity to make champs. What they saw was they made those roster changes for Purge, and ever since, I think they were missing that fourth that was just going to push this team forward. And I think they found him. Obviously, working with Kev, I know what he can bring to a team. I think this team is just missing that one piece from being a really good team and actually potentially even upsetting teams and pushing forward to those top four spots. You saw the impact that these guys had. I think Attach, Nero, and Geo all had really good seasons. And bringing in Kev, who is, as you know, right, just a pure shooter. He makes insane plays when he's on fire. And I think Kev's biggest um, thing to work on for this tournament, or his biggest question mark, is will he be consistent throughout the entire tournament? And I think he's found a more comfortable team and a comfortable play style for him. And I actually think this team might suit his play style a little bit better. Um, so I'm excited for Kev. I think that he's going to come lights out for this tournament, and I think that he's going to do it with the firing line of Attach, Nero, and Geo behind him. This is my dark horse out of those teams that have made changes.
I like it. I like it. I mean, listen, Kev is an animal. That guy loves LAN. Ever since Vanguard, we're talking about challenges before, but ever since Vanguard, when I saw this guy on LAN, this guy is insane. And I mean, he got a pro contract at the end of Vanguard, got into the league in MW2. This guy loves LAN. So seeing him compete on LAN at Saudi, I'm really happy for him. This team, this Vegas team, a lot of people are high on them for all the right reasons throughout the season. I mean, they're led by that veteran Dylan Attach, who teamed with Kev before. So, if you've got a veteran saying, hey, bring this guy on our team, like he's a piece that we're going to need, I think, it's a very good vouch to have on this team. So, yeah, listen, I'm excited for this team. We'll get into their matchups, their brackets, and let's get started with our overall bracket prediction for the event.
Okay.
How do you feel, Larry? Where do you want to start?
I think we just go A, B, C, D. Let's just do it.
I like it. Rapid fire or what?
We can take some time in some of these matchups.
Okay, I like it. All right, let's start with Group A. Challengers Omit Brooklyn have the toughest matchup round one with your reigning world champs, Optic Gaming.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that fifth place challenger team coming up against Optic Gaming?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this for, I think, 2 series out of these first matchups. They have nothing to lose, no pressure, and the only thing that they do gain from this is positive things. Basically, if you win it, Cloud9, great, best scenario ever. If you lose it, you understand the level you have to be at, and you understand where you have to be at pretty quickly, right? Playing an Optic Gaming, and even if you end up losing it, but you think, okay, well, we actually played pretty well in certain moments. We just need to fix these small mistakes. You then go into a game against Vegas or Carolina, who are, obviously they've made those 2 changes. You go in with a level of confidence that I was close to being Optic Gaming, or at least I showed that I can compete. And now I'm going to come through, fix those small mistakes, and I'm going to rise to the level a lot quicker, right?
Yep.
So I think that's what this team has. I don't see them winning it. I don't know if you do. I don't think that you will. So yeah, I think there's not really much more to be said. There's just pure positives, no threats.
Yeah, listen, I can't see them winning this series. I don't think their map pool is deep enough at all. I will say though, they have a coaching staff behind them with Charles Mystic, who is very prepared. The way this bracket is played, because this is something we're probably going to talk about a bit more. The way this scenario is played out, all of Group A are going to be played on Thursday. All of Group B are going to be played on Thursday. And then we see C and D played out on Friday. So we're going to see matches get played in quick succession. You need to be taking your learnings quickly, applying it quickly, and moving forward. So, knowing Charles and knowing his ability to prepare for matches, I think as long as they have a decent showing against Optic, they will be quick to adapt, which I think may catch Vegas or Carolina off guard. Do I think they're beating Optic? No. So why don't we go ahead and move them straight down into the losers bracket, and then we can discuss the next matchup, the kind of premier matchup of Vegas versus Carolina. Talk to me about that game, Ari.
I do think you're wrong, by the way, on the way the schedule
Really?
works. I think they all play on the same day.
Oh, I think it's Group A. I thought it was Group A, A, B,
No.
and then CD.
No, I'm pretty sure it's all they just play.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
All right, cool. So what team we on? Sorry,
We are on Vegas versus Carolina.
Vegas versus Carolina. I think I picked Vegas as my dark horse. But with that being said, I think they'll drop the first matchup. And I think Carolina, I think it'll be a close matchup, but I just see a world where Carolina take the first matchup, take the confidence, take the energy, and just build into this tournament. For me, I see Carolina taking the first matchup. Whether I see them potentially taking a second matchup, I guess that's just my prediction.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, anything you see in the videos, have you had a look? Obviously, they made a change. Is there a specific reason? My thing is control. You know, I mean, Beans is a huge um, uh, step up in control, in my opinion, for this Ravens team.
Yeah.
But Legion are really strong in control. I mean, they won all three controls at Major 4 at the LAN. In the online stages, they split their controls. These guys are strong in control, whereas Ravens are the complete opposite. Do you think that's the swing game mode? You know, I have it down as whoever wins that map 3 is going to win the series, no matter what. I think it's going map 5.
I think the hard points that we can probably expect are Karachi and Rio from these two teams.
Yep.
Obviously, they've just had a map of a month of scrim, sorry. But both those teams in the past have liked those maps. Karachi and Rio both, and the way
Yep.
that they ban kind of pushes those teams towards that. And I think, yeah, just for me, I think Ravens will take the first one. It's just what I can see as an even matchup, dead even. I mean,
So you're thinking Karachi, Rio, hard points. I think I think Legion haven't played Karachi for a while in control, and that's Beans' best map. Boston love that map. I don't know if they're gonna see that Ravens play that map too. I don't think they're gonna see a Karachi control. I could see a high rise, potentially probably invasion actually, because Ravens didn't really play high rise. Yeah, it's probably gonna be an invasion control map 3. So what do you feel about that? You know, who you taking that way? Because Legion had that record for a long time of being 16-1 on defense. They started the year off really well on defense and on invasion. I can't see Ravens beating them on an invasion. I can't see it.
I mean, I think the opposite, to be honest.
Okay.
I think Ravens invasion, especially stage 4ish. I think invasion S&D control, sorry, was one of their better maps. I think Legion's invasion control fell off towards the end of the year, and I think you actually saw a rise in their high rise control towards the end of the year. They played it a lot more. So where I think actually Legion, you might say that they were strong at invasion at the start of the year. I think at the end of the year they've kind of dropped off on it, and now you actually see a lot more teams winning the offenses on control invasion a lot more. So it's kind of been figured out. It's come through the ringer, and people have found out how to win those invasion controls that
Okay.
you didn't see them do in the early start of the season.
So you tell me, Abby, who's taking this matchup? Ravens?
I've got Ravens first time round.
Cool. So let's move Ravens on to our qualification match and Vegas down. Do you see Omit versus Vegas? Do you see an upset?
No.
No? Leave it at that. Let's move it on. So, out of that, we go Vegas straight into the qualification matchup again. No offense to Omit. I do think Vegas take that if that is the case. Carolina versus Optic. Is there a chance?
I think the world champions take this.
Okay.
I
think
the
so
Omit
too.
Brooklyn series will be a good warm up for them. Get back into the swing of things, and then they'll just take it up a level when they play one of those pro teams and show their dominance and ride the high of winning that championship.
I agree. I mean, Optic just have a very deep map pool. S&D though, what can we expect, Harry? I mean, Ravens, they vetoed 6-star quite a lot. during Major 4. Optic, Rio high rise quite a lot towards the back end of the year. What do you think? I mean, what do you think? What do you think they're gonna play? I think Optic's invasion is so scary, but it's a pretty,
Exactly.
it's a pretty. I mean, they're scary on a lot of maps. Karachi invasion, they're pretty scary. I think we'll see a invasion ban out of Ravens, a Karachi pick out of Optic,
I think we'll see a Rio ban out of Optic.
a Rio
I wouldn't
ban.
play Ravens on Rio. They
Okay,
play that
so
map a lot.
Rio's out, invasion's out. I think Karachi gets picked by Optic. What do Ravens pick? iRaz or six
Ravens,
star? I think they go 6 star.
I think it just depends on their practice. I could see them go for I mean maybe a 6 star.
Yeah, I think it's 6 star. I think S&D is going to be telling, right? I mean, they're going to have to pull something out their arse if they're going to win that shit. So, go back to them.
Yeah,
Optic being
actually,
our leaders from that Group A. How do we feel about Vegas versus Ravens?
now I'm gonna take my dark horses. I think the rematch.
I think okay,
Iron out the kinks,
all right.
and I'm gonna take my. I'm gonna.
Kev
take
just
dark
needs one
horses.
to get him going. He needs one to get him going.
Exactly. Just get used to it in the kingdom, and come out swinging.
I mean, small insider. I mean, Kev lost all his luggage. Do you think he's gonna be checked out?
Nah, he's good.
He's good. Listen,
He's
man.
ready. He's locked.
I agree. I think that man's a beast. I hope Vegas win. I had them win in the first matchup. I have them win in the second. Vegas and Optic going through from Group A on to Group B. Ari, how do you feel?
Yeah, Cloud9 versus Gentlemates. It's going to be really hard for these Gentlemate guys to pull this one out. I think, with all due respect to them, I don't really think we should talk too much about this series. What you can find though is when you play subliners, they show you something different in S&D every single time you watch them play.
Yep.
And my question will be to the mentality of Cloud9 to this event. They always show you a different look in S&D. Will they show something different against Gentlemates, or will they be saving for what they presume to be later on in the tournament, right?
I don't think they'll ever save. These guys don't give a damn. They're railing everyone in S&D sometimes. They showcase some things so prematurely because they know they have more things. Like they genuinely have a stockpile.
Yeah.
I agree. You can't prep for this team. Map 1 is everything. If Gentlemates do want to take this series, I think it's going to be unwise to play Cloud9 on a Karachi. But Karachi was a really successful map for Gentlemates at the LAN. So I could see a 6-star map as well. Subline is banned 6-star. So I think Gentlemates are going to have to square up on Karachi, which I just think is unwise. Because subliners are super good.
Actually,
you think
Karachi is a straight up map. You know what you're going to get out of it. So if you come into Karachi Hardpoint and you are good on the day, you know what you're going to get out of it. You should take that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want a bit of statistics to back up your theory, they lost a lot. Subliners have lost the last Cloud9 have lost the last 3 Karachis they played back to back to back. Optic, Ultra, Optic, granted, but hey, Ben Bant was on Ultra. Maybe he can take some of that good juju and get it going for the boys. Right, moving on. Shift that on. And what I think is again a premier matchup: Surge versus G2. Vancouver Surge. The graphics wrong. It's the Vancouver Surge. What do you think?
I think again this is 2 completely different playstyles, I'd imagine. And what I do think is Surge's playstyle is probably going to be too strong for G2 to handle with. The way that they play, you know you're going to get a Vista or a 6-star. You know how good they are at Vista. If G2's practice isn't good enough on 6-star, they're going to have to play the Vista, and that's where the worries start to creep in. So if you're G2, you need to take Seattle at one of the maps that they're so strong at and suits their playstyle so well. Seattle run it down, play with such aggression, such pace. They don't care at all about stats. I mean, their sub duo, I think, are like 0.9s. for the season.
With the highest
You wouldn't even
engagement.
know it. You wouldn't even
They
know
don't
it.
give a damn.
The way they fly for their team is so good, and Abuzu's had a pop off season for them too. And I think Brezzy actually played really well towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
So for me, I think Seattle take it just for the aggression and the play style that they have.
Okay, I like it. Listen, I think Seattle take it, but I will say Seattle don't like sub base historically. Rokkr have picked up Justice and Connor. Do you think Justice and Connor can get the sub base up to par to then create a scenario where Rokkr have a favourable map set going into it? Because, like you said, you can only play one of your strong maps, Vista or 6-star. And I think 6-star is the problem for Rokkr. They do not like that map, especially map 1, but they do not like that map. They play it a lot because they're forced into it. I think a Vista sub-base hardpoint matchup could be semi-successful here. Like, they're going to take one of them, I think.
Could be if only Surge didn't ban sub base in most of their.
But this is what I'm saying: is are they going to ban sub base in that series?
I think they should. If I was them, I would ban sub base and you
100%.
I'd run it down on the Vista.
I mean,
the 6-star,
but Vista is 6-star.
I'd play that.
I mean, I hear you. Yeah.
So I just anticipate Surge to get that sub base map.
Yeah, I think it's gone.
Doesn't suit the way they want to play at all.
Yeah, listen, just move it over. Surge, take the dub. Unfortunately, they take the dub. For Rokkr to do something, hopefully we see the sub base. And then I think control is going to be super interesting as well because I mean both teams aren't the strongest at control whatsoever. So yeah. Talk to me, G2, Gentlemates. What do you think?
Yeah, this is where I would love to say that there's going to be an upset, but I just don't see it again. This probably has a big upset potential, however, based on the fact that it is a completely different team with 2 different changes going in for that team. However, I think G2 have massively upgraded. I think they all sort out their problems. And I don't see Gentlemates being able to take it. I think, yeah, I just think that G2 will have the benefits of this matchup.
Listen, I agree with you. I don't think Gentlemates have enough. Although I again mentioned it before, Cobra versus Linz. If that is the matchup, extremely excited for it. Just to see, is he gonna get payback on his duo? But hey, let's move him over. G2 into a qualification matchup. How do we feel about Cloud9 Subliners versus Surge, which went map 5, round 1, match 1 of CDL champs? And I'll be honest, Seattle could have taken it.
Yeah, really close one. I think Seattle are a little bit of a bogey team for some of these top 4 teams, and the way in which they play is completely different. And we'll say it time and time again. I think Cloud9 have done enough over the course of the season to improve in their respawns to make it a shutout. I don't see them dropping S&Ds much in this tournament, to be honest. It is the final tournament. It's going to be everything's coming out to play. So I just see Cloud9 taking it. Obviously, you can't overlook them. They just came second at champs. But Seattle definitely do have upset potential here. And if they do, then it'd be a really bad day to be a G2 or even a Gentlemates
fan.
Fan or player.
I mean, I think this is probably the biggest likely upset potential match that we'll ever see in these groups. These 2 teams are 100% so evenly matched. I think the raw pace of Surge really pushes them forward. Do you think a map pool is going to be as changed? They had a month to work on stuff. Do you see a world where we have the same maps going into it, or you think a big map pool change might affect these teams?
I would expect the same maps, maybe, especially the high-rise ban that Seattle usually bring in, the high-rise S&D, high-rise control ban. I don't see them wanting to play them on that map. And yeah, I think when it comes to subliners, they're always a tricky team. They always come out with something different when it comes to vetoes. But one thing for sure is they will not play Rio S&D.
Yep.
And so I imagine them coming in with an invasion control. They're extremely good at that map, or maybe even going
Yeah,
with Karachi,
no, they are. No, I think
which they
I think they'll
started
play
testing
invasion.
towards the end of the season. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So I think
tough.
6-star. I will play a Vista, but New York are really good at Vista too. So
Yeah,
um, Seattle have the chance with that Vista record and that Vista map. They have the chance to get one on the board. Will they take two? If they take two, force them at five at minimum, and the door's open for them to grab it.
yeah, I agree. Listen, let's move Seattle down, and talk to me a little bit about this rematch because last time you had a rematch, last time you gave it to the team that lost, well, won. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that this time. Um, I think Seattle just take it again for all the same reasons as before.
Yep,
And their play style is just so uncomfortable to play against.
yep. You don't
For
think the
this GT team.
Linz Justice duo can keep up with 04 and Hugh? Because I'll be honest,
They can.
I mean, yeah, of course they can, but do you think it's gonna be just too much for G2 to handle? Because I really believe this matchup is gonna come down to the sub pairing, just whoever does better. Um,
Mm, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, well, the subs historically don't perform pretty well, but the ARs usually do for Seattle. Whereas on G2, I imagine the subs to play well and the ARs take a little bit more of a back step. Maybe Connor just has a pop off series as he's open to do so at
so
any moment in time.
I'm not gonna root against my
Uh,
boys. I think G2 take this. I think G2
you
take
can move
this.
G2.
I think G2 take this because I know Connor and I know how much his drive gets ramped up in moments that he's considered an underdog. So the fact that we don't have him winning, I'm taking him. I'm taking him. G2 taking a dub.
Yeah, I'll probably say I want G2 to win, just because of the Justice and Connor being on that team. I think Seattle will take it, but I'm happy to move G2 forward.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Well, we'll move G2 forward. I will move Cloud9 forward. So I'll just make sure I quickly do that because I forgot. Talk to me, Ari. Ultra versus Stallions. How do you feel?
Um, yeah, super interesting matchup. It's probably the matchup that you don't want as a challenger team going into the first tournament. I know you have the likes of Face, Subliners, and Optic, but the thing with Ultra is they don't take anyone lightly and they enjoy bullying teams. And what that is just to the compliment of Scrap and the energy that he brings. Ultra don't get caught sleeping often. Um, and I think the members of Stallions are are typically members that Scrap would like to get in their face or like to get loud against, if even possible at the tournament. But it's one that they're definitely not going to be taken lightly and going in ready to shoot.
I agree. Listen, Ultra to me are one of, if not the best control team in the game. They're super consistent at control, and they play all the maps. I think we're going to see a high rise come out. The thing that Ultra do, they auto veto high rise S&D.
Which is what challenger teams love to play.
Do you think that because of an auto veto, we could see the challenger team, out prepare? They know they might not need to focus on the high rise, and they could semi out prepare and really focus. We spoke about Stallions needing to focus on their S&D pool, and you said, they don't need to work on every map. Do you put more focus into your 6-star or your Karachi? I might not play a high rise against Ultra, and even if they do play it, they're not too comfortable. And hey, Stallions lost round 11, so it's not like they're slouches on the map. They're pretty good at that map too. So I could
Yeah.
see a world where Stallions, because of the preparation aspect, they might have an edge. I don't see them being Ultra, but they might have an edge where you take a map 1, a map 2 sneakily is a map that you really are focused on, and you brought out all the guns blazing, and you can take it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everything's on Stallions as S&D. They have to be able to prove that they can get up to speed in their S&D. I don't see them doing it. I think Ultra's strong enough at all three game modes and strong enough to not feel confident going into any map against them in all three game modes. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I think Ultra take it.
Hey, cool.
I
We'll
think
move Ultra through, and Stallions can be bumped down into our losers round 1. Heretics versus Breach. I think this is the one matchup as a Breach fan you didn't want. Obviously outside of the top 4. I think Heretics are on a resurgence since adding Real. They have been lights out. They barely lose, if ever, to teams outside of that top 4. They play with a huge amount of pace. Like that Surge team that you said are a bit of a bogey team. These guys play with a huge amount of pace, but it's on all fronts. You know, Medals is a super fast engagement AR heavy. These guys, I can't see a world where Boston have enough in their tank to compete with a team such as Heretics.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. Like you said, that record alone, where they barely ever lose to teams outside of the top 4 in the entire CDL season, they, in terms of their play style, they figured it out. The addition of Real, they play really good Call of Duty, and they play Call of Duty that works for them. In which case, I don't see them dropping this series either. I think it's a day of favorites.
Yeah, listen,
Um,
talk to me a little about the S&D, because that Omit Brooklyn team that Cammy, Wake, and Purge are part of, they love 6-star S&D. But, you know, Heretics on 6-star S&D, Ari. How do you feel about them on that map?
I think they're good at that map.
I think they're insane.
They're really good at that map. And if it's a situation where you're going to let the Boston team pick that for you, you get a free pick, right?
Yeah.
So then it's up to Miami, and they'll probably end up picking a
Karachi.
Karachi, which again they're really good at.
Yep.
One thing that you're not going to play them on is Rio.
Actually, I think Karachi is Breach Omit's the only map they never played on LAN.
So you could see.
So I can't see Karachi. I think it's going to be 6-star. It won't be Rio. It won't be a Rio. It probably Invasion. Yeah.
It'll be an Invasion, and I'll say this publicly. I'm looking for Heretics to help out on the B Street on their defenses.
Talk to me about it. I mean, give it. This is what I wanted you on the show for. But insight, you know, you weren't giving it earlier time. Now talk to me. Tell me why you think this B bomb site is a problem for Heretics if a team prepares well.
I don't want to dig them into the grave. I think if you watch their VOD, you can see that they leave Vickle on that B site. It's often alone, often without a trophy. He's nadeable. I think actually he might run a trophy. I can't really remember, but he's nadeable off that trophy. And when he's on that forklift, they're not quick enough to shift and help him on that B Street. So if you smoke out the top end of B Street, nade out Vickle, stun him out, and hit him, the B Street's open for a plant there. And when I saw Miami against, I think it was Seattle at Champs, Seattle were running it down on that B Street, and I felt like they had every opportunity to win that map. I'm pretty sure they ended up losing it.
Yeah. Well, that last round was a huge one where Harvey stays up long enough. He survives. The nades don't connect. Jose makes a quick pinch.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the only rounds he done that. And they capitalized.
So
listen,
me,
I think that B Street is 100%. But we know the Spanish. The Spanish love invasion. And I will say about Harvey, at least from the Photo Mutineers days working with him, in S&D, he likes doing, you know, a lot of the same stuff because he knows it works. You know, he creates a strategy because he knows it works. He knows what can counter him, and he's prepared for that situation. So I know we're thinking we can counter Harvey, but he is, from my work with him, genuinely prepared for someone to hard counter him. I think he encourages it. He wants it to happen because he knows gaps are going to open up elsewhere. He knows if you waste all your U2 on him, then you won't have any for the post plant. You won't have any for the scenario where nothing hits. You know, and then he's laughing. So I think it's going to be a really interesting round. I hope we do see an invasion just to see if the prophecy is right. But who do you have taken it? Heretics?
I have Heretics taking it. And what I will say about Harvey too is I think he might be one of the best forklift players I've ever seen, because his ability to just lie down behind the forklift. He doesn't ever get aggressive or take that audacious chow. He's never too antsy with it. He lies down behind that forklift and just waits.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where you're like, is he even here? Like, are we tweaking? But then his teammates come along and he pops up. And they end up clutching and retaking the site.
Listen, I
Cool.
agree.
Let's get it going so we can
Yeah.
wrap up. I think we're over the hour mark.
Yeah, no, hey, let's keep it quick. Breach Stallions, a challengers versus challengers team, rematched in theory. Apart from Snoopy, who wasn't in this matchup in the losers final. Who'd you have taken this, Abby?
I'm gonna take Stallions.
Okay, why?
I think their respawn is super strong. And I think that they'll rise up to this occasion.
Yep.
We have to see an upset, and this is where I see it happening.
Okay.
I don't think their S&D is going to be good enough when they play Ultra, but maybe again, you go in, you lose a series, and you think, okay, we have to make these tweaks.
Yep.
You go and you get a little bit more comfortable. And I can see Stallions taking this one.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I think they got Nesloed in the losers final. Very rare, you know. I mean, they barely lose control in challenges.
They didn't play Breach in the losers final.
They played Brooklyn Omit, which was
in the winners
Purge.
final.
In the losers final, they played Purge, Wake, Cammy, and
Who
Prolute.
did they play in winners final? Was that Alex team?
Winners final was Alex team, yeah. Which
Yeah,
again,
so switched around.
which again, I mean, they lost 2 S&Ds there. So I mean, as long as Stallions win 1 S&D, I think they're taking this. And I think they're going to win an S&D. I can't see them not fixing that issue. So I'm happy to move Stallions forward. Boston Breach, unfortunately, carry on with a record of placing last for consecutive tournaments in a row. I don't know the number. Ultra Heretics, man. Vamos. Do you see them make an upset?
Ultra taking it.
Yeah, I think we see this a lot.
This matchup has happened a lot.
Yeah, this matchup has happened a lot. And every time it happens, it tends to be a 3-1 win. A lot of teams struggle taking Ultra Map 5. Very rarely in the season. I think they're the least taken team to Map 5. And I cannot see a world where Heretics win in 3 or win in 4, sorry. So I think it's going to be an Ultra win. And yeah, we're gonna see history repeat itself here.
Yeah.
Probably Scrappy standing up in the middle of Saudi Arabia, screaming Spanish.
Not sure if you're allowed to, but if he is allowed to, for sure.
Hey, perfect. Well, hey, we'll move Scrappy onto the Group C qualifier, and Heretics will go down to our qualification match versus the Stallions. Exceed, who we know loves playing against Spanish. How do you think he's going to do against Heretics?
I think that this will be a good matchup. It will be close matchup, but like you said, with the Heretics against the bottom 8s so far in CDL, I think they're just ready for the opportunities to play against the bottom 8 teams and beyond. And I just don't see them dropping this. They could, but my prediction would be Heretics to come through.
Cool. Well, I mean, Stallions are going to veto Invasion if they follow suit with what they did at Challenger Champs. They don't play Invasion. So they'll veto Invasion, leaving open 6-star, which I think you and me both believe that's probably Heretic's strongest map. So they might get their best map in S&D.
What, S&D?
Yeah.
I think Karachi is
Karachi's
best map.
Well, then I think Heretics are going to get both of their best maps in because Stallions seem to like Karachi too. They like Karachi as 6-star. So listen, I think it's going to be a very, very weird one. Talking about preparation and stuff, I think Stallions would have had to prepare a deep map pool for this group. They can't. There's not really much overlap between the S&D maps that teams play. So I can't see it being strong enough to beat Heretics. Unfortunately, I don't see Carson revenge on the Florida org. I don't see any upsets happening. But I think Stallions do make a show of it, and they go to Saudi and they showcase why they're the best probably challenger team over the year.
Nice.
On
to the last group.
Yep. On to the last group with Heretics.
Has the 2 challenger teams.
Has 2 challenger teams. Do you see any of them making it? Yes or no?
No.
Cool. Let's get into why. 100 Thieves versus Law. tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I think Thieves just came off the 4th place finish. I think they're a really good team. I don't see those boys kind of dropping against Law. I think matchup wise, those players outperform the players on Law. So that's where I kind of see Thieves just take it really.
Cool.
Um,
Do you see any potential upset? If they were to make an upset, where's it going to be?
Law have to win both S&Ds and probably steal a control. I think they just have to Neslo. I don't see them winning the hard points.
I could see a control
I think
win.
they'll have to
I
Neslo.
could see a control win if we see a high rise. You know, thieves typically play a lot of different maps, but high rise is one that they like to play against teams unless they're like Ultra. The Ultra is the only team they've really banned high rise against and some others recent history. I think Law are screwed in the foot because they like Rio Hardpoint, and Thieves are probably one of the better Rio Hardpoint teams that we see in the league. So I can't see a world where Law actually get a good map set. They're gonna have to Neslo. They're gonna have to Neslo Ari, and I don't know if that's gonna be possible. Hopefully, because I want to see a big upset happen. But I'm gonna move 100 Thieves on to our qualification match, and Law down to our losers round one.
Yeah.
FaZe versus Falcons, home team versus the
really
team that need an upset.
much.
We're not going to say much. Do you see the Falcons having a good show, or is this going to be tough?
I don't. I mean, maybe they can win an S&D. I don't actually think they probably will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit. Just tell me, Falcons. Unless you watch their qualifier, which I don't even know if it was streamed. I tried to find it, couldn't. Not much preparation can be done about their qualification match. They weren't a Challenger champs. Do you think that their surprise aspect can catch FaZe off guard, or is that just me being wishful?
I think it's you being wishful. I'm not sure how much preparation FaZe do going into many matches. Not to discredit them if they do, but I don't think preparation against Falcons will be the bread and butter that they'll need. They'll just want to look to play some really good S&D. Some clean cut S&D. Nothing too crazy. Let's feel them out for the first couple of rounds, assert our dominance. Once you take those first 2 rounds, then you feel all the confidence in the world, and you just take it on from there. So for me, if FaZe go in with the right mindset into this S&Ds and into that matchup, then I don't see them having any issue.
Perfect. Well, listen, let's just get straight started. Law versus Falcons. What you got?
I'm taking Law. I think Falcons' woes on LAN have proven to me that they won't beat the Challengers World Champions.
Well, I've got Law as well, purely based on the fact that I think Falcons play aggressive. I don't think they have enough to beat a top Challenger team with a lot of CDL talent on it. 100 Thieves FaZe, 4th place 100 Thieves finish, 6th place FaZe finish. Do we think history repeats itself and Thieves outplays FaZe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
As much as I would like to, I don't think so. I think FaZe are going to come in extremely motivated to win this tournament, and I actually have them as probably one of my tournament favorites, as many people always do.
Yep.
FaZe against Ultras matchup, where if you look at it, you're going to see a lot of Karachi hardpoint.
Yep.
Which, if Thieves then proceed to ban, you have to play them on a Rio, which
Thieves
in recent times actually suits Thieves. So if you're a Thieves fan, you're probably hopeful in the fact that you can get a free pick out of FaZe. In which case the Thieves have to respond with a 6-star.
Do you think subbase? Either of these teams have worked on subbase enough to get it into this map pool?
No.
I think we see FaZe pick subbase because FaZe probably need that deeper map pool. That's probably the only map they worked on hardpoint for the past month.
If I was Thieves, I would ban subbase. And with FaZe banning out Karachi potentially, or even Vista,
you got 6-star Rio
6-star, which
is some maps that you like. Yeah, I think these have a really favourable matchup here, Harry. After you say that, so you think Thieves won map 1 in every single match on LAN at Challenger Champs. They only lost 1 hardpoint. They only lost at
CDL Champs.
Yeah, CDL Champs. Yeah, they lost 1 hardpoint, which is a 6-star, but they won a couple of 6-stars in other series. So definitely a strong map for them. Definitely strong at hardpoint towards the end of the year. This is going to be a tough matchup for FaZe. Do we see an upset?
We could, but we don't.
Okay, I like it. So I'm going to move 100 Thieves down. I think FaZe take it by the scruff of the neck, map 5. I'm really not surprised if 100 Thieves win. I'm going to be honest. I think Dan Ghosty is an amazing talent that 100 Thieves have under their belt. And I think even Joe Kremp played really well. And Byron last year. Overall, really strong end to the year. And they've showcased a lot of talent that they can compete. So yeah, I mean we'll move over. 100 Thieves Law rematch, upset or no?
No upset.
Perfect. Well, listen, I will go ahead and add 100 Thieves into our qualified teams and give you our bracket for the groups.
Are we
How
doing
do
a
you feel about
bracket
that?
prediction too?
We're not doing a bracket prediction, not today.
Okay, cool, perfect.
Perfect. Well, listen, how do you feel
I
about
feel good
that,
about
Ari?
it.
Feel good?
Feel good that my dark horse Vegas has gotten out. I feel good that the 3 LAG players who are going to this tournament are all making it out.
Yep.
Gonna be excited to watch those guys play each other in bracket play.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, guys, that has been us. Arian, Cheek, the Chit-Chat first episode. We may do a bracket prediction once the once the groups have commenced. We might do a bracket prediction when we know the bracket a bit better. We might know a bit more about their map vetoes too, so we can start to get a bit more analysis in, and maybe break down a bit of S&D for you guys. But thank you so much.
We might even be watch partying
Yep.
the matches live, going through some things, maybe in a bit more detail.
Yep. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you want more, please let us know, and we're very happy to do so. And if you have any questions, let me know. Really quickly, Ari, just going to end it here with this tweet from Jake Hale. I want you to give me your winner of the tournament, rapid fire. Winner?
FaZe.
Runner up?
Ultra.
MVP?
Jasa.
Best of the rest? Best team
Simp
outside
MVP,
the top four?
Simp MVP.
Simp MVP. Okay. Best of the rest?
Okay. Best of the rest is what, outside top four?
Yep.
Vegas Legion.
Biggest flop, team or player?
Actually, 100 Thieves, sorry.
Okay.
100 Thieves.
Biggest flop, team or player?
Biggest flop? Optic.
Shit, man, what the fuck? Best challenger teams?
Best challenger team is going to be Stallions.
Alright. Listen, guys, that was a chit chat. Love to keep talking COD with you guys. Let us know if you want more. Peace. See you later.
Peace.